It's been a little while since my last video. I've been away on holidays for a couple of weeks, but now I'm back. The camera box has been continuously running over that period, and it's currently been sitting in my front yard for about a month, and it's endured pretty heavy rains and high heats, and still seems to be running just fine. There was some concerns about bugs getting in the ventilation holes, but I'd already used some fly screen to make it harder for anything large to get in. There was also a lot of concern about potential condensation and humidity being a problem with the Raspberry Pi. That really isn't a big concern. In Melbourne, it doesn't get that humid, but even if it did, I've had Raspberry Pis running outside in humidity before for long periods of time, and it's never been an issue. There are definitely some parts of the world where that might be a much bigger issue, but here in Melbourne it really isn't. What is a much bigger issue is heat. It's currently summertime here in Melbourne, and we can get weeks where it's consistently above 30 degrees Celsius. I've taken it down to a rural property to set up for some longer term testing, and on the day of setting up, it hit a peak of 35 degrees. And as the Raspberry Pi and Halo accelerator both produce their own heat, if this enclosure was fully sealed, we could get temperatures well above 40, maybe even 50 degrees Celsius just within the box, even if it was sitting in the shade, if that was even an option. Active ventilation like this is just a really simple and straightforward way of completely getting rid of that issue. There are of course more complicated ways we could get around that without having ventilation holes, but they drastically increase the complexity of the system, which is just not what I want at this point in time. So the system is currently set up looking for kangaroos. We've hammered it into the ground with a ground spike and just zip tied it to this fence post just for some extra rigidity if it becomes too windy. Apparently the kangaroos come to and fro at dawn and dusk to drink at this little dam, and they run along this fence line here, so hopefully the camera will be set up to detect those. Inside the box is a little cramped at the moment. I've got a 1TB NVMe that will be used to store images, and I've also got a 4G USB mobile dongle so that I can stream the detections to the cloud. So I'm currently doing some very basic cloud data logging so that I can remotely monitor the battery and also any detections we get. So this version will be set up here for a few weeks, and hopefully we'll be able to collect some data and be able to see the movement of the kangaroos as they move to and from the dam.